Hi guys, in 5 minutes time I'm going to show you how to do an extremely simple cane and turn it into a soap dish. See you then. Hi everyone, I'm Carly from Carly's Creative Clay. I hope you've all had a good week. I know we were in the middle of working on making a Bigfoot, and we are going to get back to that next week, but I had two bits of synchronicity that came together at once that's changed this week's plan. Firstly, this whole virus thing that's been going on. I'm a hand wash person. I don't usually use soap.
Good day.
Hi, hearty life. Hi, Jake. And so I've had to start using soap because hand wash is like next to impossible to get anymore. And I didn't have any soap dishes, and I figure a lot of people are going to be in the same situation. So I thought I want to show you guys how to make a soap dish. And whilst that was going through my mind, the other day I was fiddling around with a bullseye cane, seeing if I can work out how to make a really simple, but a simple cane that looks complicated. And I've come up with this, and it's so easy. I'm sure this is one that someone else has come up with before. I came across it purely by fiddling, but it's so easy. There is no way that this isn't been thought of and made into a tutorial. So sorry if this is a technical copy, but it's not. There we go. Right, so this is the cane that I'm talking about. I'll bring it up closer so you can have a look. It's a diamond with a kind of cross pattern around it. Have a look at this. So let me get my stand out the way, and I'll show you how to make this. So we need all the basic colours that are in here. Red, gold, yellow, orange, and that dark silver that I got from mixing black and silver. Right. So what you start out with is making a bullseye cane, and I'll put this to one side so you can see it still. The bullseye cane is actually red, yellow and orange. I know it don't look like that there. We'll get to how we end up with it changed up into that. So you're going to condition your red, which is kneading it and making sure that all the plasticizers are mixed together, and roll it into a thick stick that's kind of short. Then we're going to get the red. You can use any colors you want, just make sure they're contrasting. And we're going to wrap it, for me, in yellow. Make sure you're not trapping any air bubbles, so keep it all quite tight round. Go once round, close up that crack. It's only because I conditioned it all yesterday. And when it meets your first bit of clay, you can get your tissue blade and cut off the excess, because if you overlap you're going to find that that stick is not central. These cracks don't matter that much. It's going to get a lot of work in. It'll be fine. How have I still got cat hairs around? I'm sure my cat must have snuck into my workroom the other day.
Oh, he did. He jumped up both on the side and then on the shelf behind.
He jumped up on my desk.
Yes.
And you didn't tell me.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I did lock them out the door.
Yeah, he left a whole lot of hairs before. Okay, good to know. I've had a cat up on my work desk. Lucky I'm making this for myself. So, yeah, if you overlap it, you're going to have one section that's thicker than the rest. So make sure it meets. So, red coated in yellow, then yellow coated in orange. I'm going to make sure... See? Cat hair everywhere. Right, I'm going to make sure that one side is pretty flat. Doesn't really matter that the other side's bumpy, because it shouldn't go all the way around, except this one does. If you end up like this, where you got bits that don't look like they're touching properly, just give it a squeeze and you will find you can bring across the gap. If the gap's too big, then just add in a little triangle or fill the shape up with some more of that colour. It doesn't matter if you've got join lines like that. You can see there's join lines in both layers. They will vanish out fine. So how to turn that into that, we're getting there. I need to put these two to one side. First off, I'm going to bring this down in size a bit. How I'm going to do that is I'm rolling on it and I'm bringing from the inside out to the edge. That will reduce its size but not distort any of the colours that I got in the middle of it. If you go from the edge, that will start to taper, whereas the middle won't go right. So yeah, it's a trick with all polymer clay canes, and a cane is a stick with an image in it, like a stick of rock. So you can see already at the ends they come up and over a bit. That's normal. You're going to end up with waste. Don't throw your waste away. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it. But just chopping off.
How close do you need to cut it?
It depends. You can take very thin slices until you get to the first bit that doesn't look distorted, but where I've got a million uses for ends, I just lob off the end bit. That's a typical bullseye cane. It's known as the most simple cane you can do. Yeah? Now, it's a bit boring, so how we can turn that into this. Lay it down in front of you. I'm going to go that way. Get over the top of it. You're going to cut it in half like that. You want it to be kind of even. You can get a ruler and measure it if you really want to be precise, but I'm not. Make sure you use a rigid tissue blade. If you try and use a soft one, it won't go straight and you'll end up with a curve in the middle. I'm just pushing it through the whole cane. There we go. So it is now cut in half. Yeah? Put your two halves facing down and you're going to cut them in half lengthwise again. So getting over the top so I can see that it's even. And we're going to cut that through and in half. Same again over this side. That's not straight. There we go. Over the top in half like that. Right, so we are now in quarters. Yeah? And that's the same on all of them. If you've got scruffy edges, just go along and pinch them a little bit just to make sure that they're quite neat. But you don't have to spend a lot of time on that. There you go. Right, gonna give my tissue blade a wipe. Next stage, what we're going to do is get these halves and we're going to put it so that they are looking like that. Can you see? So you've got the red in the bottom corner and the red in the other bottom corner. It's easier to do when it's down on the desk. Like that. So what you've ended up with, it's got a little triangular furrow through the middle. Yeah? See that? That is not aligned on that side. Get your line up properly. Make sure that the bottoms are touching, because if you have it where in the middle it's slightly up, you'll end up with a wonky image. So it's worth taking the time, make sure you line it all up right. Do the same for the other two. So red down on one side, red down on the corner of the other side, line up the bottom and push them together like that. Yeah, so we've got two kind of Y shapes. If they were put together, we'd end up with our circles kind of back. That's not what we're going to do. Next thing to do is we're going to get this gold so that it is the same length as those two sticks. There we go. And you can either push it into a square or cut it into a square. I am going to cut it because you want to make sure that those edges are very sharp, so you've got like a decent point to them. You don't need to cut off much. I'll show you once I've done it, just making it so that it's not rounded anymore. And you can push your clay through an extruder to do this. You can spend some time with a rolling pin and make the whole lot into your square. It depends on how much clay you've got to hand. Where I've got quite a bit of it, I do lots of different projects. This will go into a different project, no problem. So there we go. So I'm just flipping it over and cutting. Can you see? So now you've got that really nice sharp edge to your square. Got two more sides to do, but you're over halfway on making this cane. You see what I mean when I said it was ridiculously easy?
I don't think I quite comprehended. But then you have had a lot of practice doing it.
But yeah, it was make a bullseye, chop it into four. That is simple for even a beginner. This is the last side I've not done. I knew there was one more. Oops, straighten it up. If your clay is not in a straight line, when you try and cut it, you're never going to get the cut right. When I first started, I did not have a straight eye. Everything was wonky. And it does come with practice. You can use things like rulers and set squares and stuff like that to help while you're not so great at it. There we go.
That makes sense. The more you
Right.
see
See?
what's straight, the better you get at
Yeah.
straight.
So we've now got a stick that's a square.
Perfectly square as well.
Yeah. Get your little Y shape and you're going to put one of those points in that ridge. See? Through the middle alongside my orange. Like that. So it's sat in like that, yeah? I cut off that extra. Then get the orange side with the ridge that way, and you're going to put it on the top side of that square. Like that.
Is there anything special you have to do to line it up?
Just make sure that you're lining up the colours, and because you've got that ridge, it should slot in quite nicely. Yeah, and you want the orange to meet on all four sides. So just pinch along, push on it, get it all nice and square. Whoop, don't overlap. Have a look, make sure nothing's trying to buckle and overlap each other.
And you can trim the end.
So you like that?
Yeah?
Yeah?
I see the pattern.
Get my gold out the way. Then all I've got to do is surround it in the silver. Let's clean the orange off. It's a cobalt silver. So what it is
You show me.
50% silver and 50% black. I reckon I'm going to need that a lot thinner. So let's roll it up. Ooh, I need some paper to do that. Don't ever try and roll it
That's
a
okay.
large piece on a glass desk. It's not going to work well. Rolling pin.
You need it about twice as long, so it
Yeah.
might be half as thick.
It will,
Something like that.
but it'll work out.
Is that something you can do with the pasta machine?
I can use my pasta machine, but it's getting it down and I can't be bothered. So what you can do
Do that.
is literally pinch and stretch. Can you see? Once you've rolled it out a bit, it's fine to do it this way. Just make sure that your stretch goes evenly through the clay. I'm very used to it. You're more likely to get the middle thinner than the edge when you do that, so you've got to then come in. Can you see I'm holding where it's slightly thicker and bringing it out along the edge? Flip it over, do the other side, and doing it this way you end up not getting cracks in it. So already that's a lot bigger. Give it a stretch. I reckon that'll do it. Let's check. Little bit more and then that'll do it. This is what happens. It's hard to measure beforehand, especially when you've only just done a little off-cut section. But clay's good, you can always work with it. So how's everyone's week been? I've been worrying. I should be on the vulnerable list, as should my mother-in-law who I live with, because I've got asthma and she's got bronchiectasis, and that's without the chronic fatigue that I've got, and we have been completely missed off it, so it's been great fun. Right, that looks wide enough now. So again, you're trying to make sure you don't trap any air, so push it down firmly, because an air bubble, it's really annoying. It will distort your whole cane. So I've got one side, I'm pushing that side down, I'm going to roll it. There we go, like that, and it's fully coated. There's a bit over and you just trim it, because the same with the bullseye cane, if you bring that up over and double up that last little bit, it will be twice the thickness as the rest of the cane in that colour and will look really odd.
Are you squaring the ends off as well?
I'm also going to square the ends off, yes.
Sorry, I should stop interrupting.
No, I like your interruption. We should call this the James and Carly show. There we go, that's the ends coming off. As you can see, this is...
You're okay, thanks. Ran my first online paint along with me workshop yesterday, got great feedback.
awesome.
I'm glad to hear that went well.
We're going to have to reduce this a lot in size, yeah? Now, reducing square canes, you go middle out, squeezing. I'm glad your paint along went well.
Hearty Hearty Life says I need a mic, as in Jamie needs a mic so that I
Yeah,
can hear properly. We tried that, but we got echo.
yeah. You can pinch and pull like that, or you can use your rolling pin and roll along each side.
Does that do it as evenly as pinching
You-
and pulling?
It kind of does. You've just got to make sure you pick it up and stretch it slightly before putting it down and doing the next side. But what you get is sharp corners, so they tessellate easier. So So like that, just a little bit. You don't want to go too crazy on one side because you will distort the image. But you can already see this is now a lot longer than it was. Yeah, and you can do a mixture of the two. Do a bit of pulling and a bit of pinching and a bit of rolling. I find pinching you get a quicker shrink. What I personally do is I pinch until I get it roughly the size I want, and then the last little bit I will do with the rolling pin just to square it all up. With a round one it's easier because you're pulling a stick. It's simple. With squares and triangles you've got to try and keep the shape. I have seen people reduce them as sticks and then put the square back in afterwards, but you're risking distortion.
Gary Hedgehog was glad that Artie Harty Life's workshop went well and said it looked really good from the photos.
Right, I'm going to have so much of this cane left over. I've never managed to make a cane where it's just the right amount for the job. I always have tons left over, and what I've got is a Tupperware box that was designed for holding cupcakes, and I just store my sticks in that.
Gary Hedgehog said it would be nice to hear me, but they think I like to hide in the background. Realistically, we did try to mic me up, but it causes echo.
Yeah,
because we're in the same room.
It's only because two mics cause echo. Jamie's just got to learn to move a bit closer when he talks, or speak up a bit. Sorry, I'm off the bottom end there. I'm just making sure that all the ends are in, and let's use one of these squares that I've already made as a size guide. So we still got to go down a little bit more, but Jamie actually does his own live stream sometimes. He's a computer gamer, and hopefully at some point he'll also be doing streams showing how he mods bits of kit for computer games.
I haven't done it in a long time.
But he hasn't, as he says, hasn't done it in a while because of health reasons. But it was good when he did. Right, we're almost there, I think.
Artie Harty Life says, what about clip-on lavalier mics? Aren't they designed for multiple users? That is what I tried.
That is what we tried, Artie Harty Life.
We'd both have to have lav mics. And that's not practical.
Right, I'm gonna cut this in half because it's now getting too long.
Lavalier mics are those kind that you see people have on TV shows where they have it clipped onto their shirt.
This is what happens when you use the back of the blade instead of the actual right side of the blade. It smudges. So that's the actual cane. I use that in my scrap pile. But there we go. See how we ended up with the cross with triangle.
I was just saying, lavalier mics, lav mics, are the kind you see people on TV have clipped to their shirt.
Cool. Yep, I couldn't do any of my streaming without Jamie. I have no idea about these things. I just work the clay, he works the tech. And at some point I'm hoping to get him to do a video showing what to do with the tech, because I've had other people in the clay world ask me how I do it, and my honest answer is I go, Jamie, can you make sure we can stream tonight? That's how I do it, but that's not helpful to them. Right, I'm just going around and making sure it's all the same size square and there ain't any bits that are thicker than the other bits, so they're all uniform, which it's looking pretty uniform now. You can feel best by running your fingers along the sides and feeling for bumps. Right, that looks right to me. So now you've got to cut it into slices.
Hedgehog says, so many tech things, the solution is James.
I know, right? I literally don't understand how people do without a James. So, a trick for cutting a lot of slices all at once is to stack your sticks together. Because we're going to make a big pattern sheet out of them, I'm literally cutting in half, roughly. I've got to stop doing that with the back of the blade. It's because I'm tired. Put it this way. Cut a millimetre off because I've just smudged all that bit. There we go. Fine slice. You all get to see me mess up on air. There we go. And in half again. Like that. Right. So now when you cut slices out of it.
So Hedgehog says, when you put the tiles together, will you get holes that water can get through?
No, we're gonna put the holes in a bit. I'll show you all how to turn this into the soap dish. Right, you're looking for about 1/2 centimetre slices. So my ruler is too dang long. Let's go here. Put your clay against the side of your ruler and you can then measure 1/2 centimetres, and then it just makes it all uniform, which is what you want. I mean, I will show you what to do if your clay is not and you've got a few slices that are taller, but if you try and roll them into a single sheet where some are taller than others, the taller ones will just smudge over the top of the shorter ones. Does that make sense? So this stage it's worth getting a ruler out and just measuring it. And 1/2 centimetre is totally thick enough for you to work with it properly and not get into a complete mess. One more. Let's line that up. Oop, there. Right, okay. Like that. And this last one, take off the very tip. There we go. Right, that's all of them in 1/2 centimetre slices. Put the spare over there. Then if I need some more, I can always go on to the second cane. Sorry, I'm going to move it forward. I'm just getting my paper. Right. Oops, it's all stuck to the desk. Let's release it all from the desk. There we go. So lots and lots of slices. And we're literally going to tessellate them onto the greaseproof paper. And what I suggest, get a bar of soap so you've got a measurement for how big or small you want your dish to be, because it's really annoying if you go through all the trouble of making it and then it doesn't fit. These ones are small, they're going to need to be around the edge. Okay, I shrunk them down slightly too much. Oops. You can bring them up bigger, but I'm just going to keep big ones in the centre and tessellate the small ones around the edge. It will still look good. There we go. That sort of height. And come round. Take that one out. And yeah, you just literally start going round and building them into a sheet.
Hedgehog says you always find a way.
I do. It's because I don't pre-shoot and cut things, so I don't want to show you a perfect version. I want to show you the real version of what it's like when you're actually making stuff that's too big. You're going to come across things that don't go perfectly well. Even if you've been at it for years, it's normal. The trick is learning how to work around it all. I think this one's going to need to come up a little bit higher. No. See how much quicker it is by sticking them all together. Then you're just moving little blocks, little lines rather than each individual tile, which would be really tedious. Let's split these last 3 up. There we go. When I first started, I did it all individually, each slice. It was like, oh, long. So learn from my mistakes, and you can spend forever making sure it's all perfectly aligned and each cube is exactly the same size as the other one, and you wind up with something amazingly perfect. And I don't think it looks much better than the ones which are cobbled together slightly out of alignment like this lot is, personally. There we go. Maybe we got 3 on that side. 2. Let's do a 3rd line across there, like that. Right, we're pretty much there because this box is slightly bigger than the soap. I've got enough to do an extra line one side, I reckon, like so. Last one in. Let's shrink you down a little. If you find one of them slightly too big, you can always just smush it. Makes it too thick, but you can just slice it.
It's like reducing a
single square. You're perfectly right. There we go. Like that. Push you into place. There. Right. This looks slightly too thin, like diameter wise, but we are going to roll this out so that it is all stuck together. You can come over with a flexible blade if you've got any that are really higher than the others. Curve it, just go across and start to trim it down to the same height. Again, I'm too scrappy for that. This is, I get on to turning it into a full sheet. You need 2nd bit of greaseproof paper and make sure it's firmly stuck down. No air bubbles if you possibly can. Okay? That will hold the design and stop you getting distortion on the actual image. And you're going to roll in all directions, diagonally as well as up and down, side to side. Just keep spinning it and rolling. And you can see these ones in the middle are slightly more faded through the paper, this little line there, as opposed to the rest. That means they were slightly shallower than the rest of it, and the joins are not properly in place there, so you need to roll over that and get it looking nice and clear through your paper. You can see that starting to happen. You can also use your rolling pin or a stone and go in little circles just to burnish in the lines. Because once you've got it stuck together, then we can put in holes for the drainage at the bottom if that's the way you want to go with it. There's 2 different ways of going for a soap dish, which I will show you both. So we're starting to look far more like this is working out. See how clear it is through the paper now? Yeah? Right, so peel that off, fold the paper back and pull away from you. You can see now those join lines, they're almost completely stuck together. There is a little bit there that isn't, so I'm going to put the paper back on and just go over that, because you want to make sure it's going to be very decently structurally stable. So just down there was that little bit that wasn't properly stuck together. And some people have a tumbled stone that they use for burnishing. The thing that I use quite often, I can't see if I can see it anywhere. Where is it? It's a problem. I got a here we are. Desk full of equipment. Right. Online they sell these. They're called metal soaps. They're good if you've got garlic or onion smell on your hands. You wash your hands with it. It's not an actual soap. It is literally a stainless steel or aluminium, I'm not sure which, bit of metal in a soap shape, but it does help bring the smell off. But all these nice curved surfaces work very well, especially if you're making something that isn't flat, so you're putting your tiles onto a shaped ornament. This gets right into all the little gaps for you to be able to burnish those lines into each other. So what you're basically trying to do is smooth down all those join lines without distorting. If you try to do it without paper on the top side, and either it's stuck to the finished item or on another bit of paper, something to hold it both sides. But you need paper or deli wrap is another thing. It's a lot like cling film. In the UK, the best one to use is this Lakeland Easy Leave Roll, and it's, you know, the sort of plastic that you get your sandwich bags made out of, the cheap ones. Let's see, where's my roll of it? Anyway, it's like a thicker plastic cling film that you can put over. If you try to use cling film, you'll end up with crease marks through the whole thing. It really is annoying, but that looks good to me. It's just there. Why do I keep not getting it? Right, there we go. I've got my eye exactly where it's not joined in properly, and I'm burnishing directly on that spot. You will yield bit of clay, you will. There we go. Done. Awesome. Right, can you see it's now one? Let's get the light on it. There's no join lines. It's now a single sheet of clay. That's called a patterned sheet. So if you want to look up what other polymer clayers are doing and you want to know the term, that's what you're looking for. So we're going to free this up because we're going to need to bring it into a bowl shape. So still using the paper, we're going to start to bring up these sides. Don't bend it really firmly all at once. You're doing little taps and just encouraging these sides to go around. If you try and treat it too harshly, you'll find the clay will just crack on the underside, and that's not terrible. It doesn't mean you've completely ruined your project. It just means that you're going to need to smooth in the underside again. You need to put it back down, burnish it back in, and you may get a bit of distortion, so it's better to try not to, but it's not a complete deal breaker. So bringing the sides up helps you make it so that you can actually trap the soapy water in the dish. So the two common types of soap dish are ones with the holes in the bottom, so the soap water drains through and keeps your bar of soap dry, but you end up with a soapy sink then. The other option is to make a solid bottomed dish like this and then put something raised in it, which is what I'm going to do. So if you wanted to do one where it was had the holes in it, all you need to do is get a drinking straw or a needle or something. You poke the holes through, so you hold either side, and in between where the joins are on those lines, you can poke little holes. Yeah? If you're going to put holes in the bottom, you will want to put feet on the bottom of your pot. And how you do that is you get a little bit of off clay, so some of these little offcuts, squidge them together so it's all the same colour scheme, roll it into a stick like that, bring that into a spiral, do 4 of those, bake it without the feet on first so that you get a rigid flat bottom, make sure the holes are in, then stick 4 feet on the bottom, then rebake it again. Does that make sense? Yeah? But I want to do one with something to sit in so that the water goes down into the dish, is held by the dish, and then you can tip that out down the sink. And what I've found is you can use the bottom of a Coca-Cola soft drink bottle, and if it fits in your dish you can use that to push out a shape. That works well. But with clayers we can just literally mold stuff. So what I'm going to use is some of the offcuts. I said I'll have a use for them, and we're going to make a similar sort of shape to that, so sort of a petally type shape. And then I'm going to cover it in some of the cane slices from this second bit of cane. And again, if you want to, you can, if you've got a whole stick, you can just literally make it out of the whole stick. But I'm not going to. I'm going to show you how to do it this way. Right. Need a drink. So all my offcuts, like that, squidging them together in a ball, and I'm going to divide that in half and in half again, so you've got 4 little balls that are roughly the same size. Yeah, then we're going to roll these into balls like so. Let's move that out the way. Same the other side, and you can see just from what I've done here, you can make really good beads out of offcuts from canes. They may not look like a cane, but they do look really pretty. Now I'm going to taper them into teardrops like this. So we've now got 4 teardrops, and what we're looking for is a surface that will hold the soap and allow water to run off it. So you don't really want to make big pools. So what I'm going to do is push them together like that. Push them on, and then push down the bottom so that it's flat, so that it will sit in your dish nicely. And do keep an eye on it, make sure it's of a size that will fit in the soap dish you just made. So like this. You can leave it like this, or you can choose to cane cover it, which is what I'm going to do. Right, let's see, a little bit narrower on that end, like that. There we are. Put it down on this, and we're going to cut some slices, and we're just going to cover this in that cane. And because we've got this base already made out, it doesn't matter so much if there are gaps between the cane, but you will find that soap will collect in any unsmooth surface, so it's worth trying to smooth it out if you can. So whole heap of slices, and we're just going to go round and start to bring them down the side like this. I'm going around the outside and covering them in, and then come round and fill in the middle like so. And the good thing about your clay is where it's flexible, you can see you can shape it around and squidge it to fit the gap. That's why I've done thinner slices for this than I did for the actual tray. So like this. You can see how quick this is coming together. Whoop. Next side. And we are going to cover the bottom because it will get picked up, but I find it easier to put the sides in and then the top. But I know people who do this who swear up and down it's the wrong way round, and I should do all the top bits and then put all these side panels in to cover up the edges. I say dealer's choice. Now here, can you see this is, I'm no way going to get this to fit in, oops, that gap. Yeah, it's going to overlap. What you can do is bend the tile. See, so you just flick up one end and then you can fit that in that gap. It will distort your image, but it makes more sense than just leaving a gap or trying to faff around measuring it so that it all fits in perfectly, which when have I ever done that? Never do. Right, couple more slices and this is going to be completely done. Don't be tempted to bake this in that, because raw clay sticks to each other, and you may find by the end of the baking session your bit that you want to be able to take out is actually stuck. What you can do, what I will probably do, is cut a square of greaseproof paper out, line the bottom and then sit that on there, so you still get it forming the contours of the base that it's going to sit in, which is far easier to get in raw clay than it is to try and shape it once it's been baked, but it won't stick together. I know one of the clay companies, I think it's Kato, does it's like a gel that stops, if you put a layer of it on, it stops raw clay sticking to raw clay. I think the woman's a wizard, but it's a predominantly American company, I think, which is, I know there was a reason why I looked at it, thought it was too expensive for my pocket and didn't go there, if I'm honest. I think it's Donna Cato. Yeah, she's a wizard. She's got some interesting stuff on hers. Right, that all fit in nicely, so we just need to cover the top now.
Down as far as I can go.
Whoops, there we go. I'm moving up.
It doesn't have to be drastic, but the more sensitive
Now,
you are, the easier
do
it is
bear
to
in
see.
mind you don't want air pockets, because it leaves a weakness in the clay. You're better off distorting an image, I think, than leaving a big air pocket, personally. But there are a lot of players who spend their entire time doing nothing but making canes, and there are some of them that can line up unbelievably precise. I think they were a robot in their last life. Huge respect for you caners, I really do. but I'm just showing, if you're not that way inclined, if you're not someone that thinks they can accurately be that precise, that doesn't stop you doing it, and doesn't stop you turning something out that's really pretty. See? Because I argue this is looking really great, even though it's all kind of out of alignment. And so quick. I mean, you could literally do this if you're working from home and your job is getting really annoying. Take a little bit of time. I mean, how long have we been at this? 50 minutes. We've got the bowl and the rest all done. So let's just come along and do that underside. I'm just going to make sure that it fits and smudge it all into a shape that I want. Like that. So even though your cane's delayed, you can still come in and change its shape and work on it. Let's get a little square of paper to put in the bottom of this dish. Sorry, ripping paper on stream is not great, but there we go. Still a bit big. I'll fold it under. There we are, like that. Then we can put this in and make sure it fits nicely, which it does. Yeah? I can even bring those sides up a little more with it at that sort of size. So let's just cover the bottom, and then we are absolutely finished with this. Bet you all didn't think you'd get a cane made and a soap dish in, what are we, 52 minutes? Awesome, isn't it? You see why I think someone else must have come up with this design. Can't have just been me. It's an impossible. So yeah, if you all try it, I would love to see what you end up making. I always love seeing other people's work, especially stuff that I've helped inspire. It's serious gratification for me. And again, if you need any help, you don't have to have attended my live stream. If you're watching this on YouTube and you still need a bit of hand, just let me know. I love helping out. So let's cobble this in. Whoop, you're not fitting well. There we go. So quick. Now I have seen all different sorts of soap dishes. I've used my swirly clay pattern rather than a cane. That looks really nice. You can also make solid colour ones and put designs like things like octopus and all that around the side. That's what I did. I made a blue one with an octopus sitting on the rim. What I suggest, if you're going to add a rim design, you first off you need to make sure that your centerpiece can come in and out and fit, and also I would bake it first so that the sides are rigid before you try and add anything on top of it. Right, one more slice I'm going to put in half and put a corner in each of those two bits there. So I'm going to do that, turn it into a triangle, and I'm going to put that triangle in there and this one in here, so it's not such a empty gap there. There we go, bottom done. Make sure it's all sitting flat. I'm going to make that cross a little more prominent, like that. What do you reckon? That's a good place to put a bar of soap. Yeah. You have a fiddle. You can also add things like glass beads and stones to it. Anything that will go through the oven at the right temperature for your clay. There we go. Soap dish. And let's open a bar of soap so you can see what it looks like when the soap's in it. That'll sit like that. You can make that thinner if you wanted. I wanted a tall one. Yeah?
Looks good to me.
And again, once you baked it, you can put feet on it. So, I hope you all found this useful. If you liked it, click the like button. If you want to, share it, comment, all that good stuff. And I will see you again next week, where we will continue on from the Sasquatch. I'll give you a sneak peek of where we got to. I was ill last week, but the week before. So it's all been scored in nicely, that body.
It looks so very...
Because when I ended the stream, I had done half the score line, so I sat there and just literally with a needle tool just went at it. And if you don't bake it between doing the arms, you're going to just smudge all that work straight back out. So yeah, that's where we are with that. So next week we're going to do the legs. Okay, so have a good week everyone, and I will speak to you all next week.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming. Bye.